Right, it is Sunday 30th of November, so into December tomorrow. Just finishing up the last of the winter prep for the tropical style UK garden. As we can see, beautiful blue sky today, slight breeze but quite comfortable. It's actually only about 7 degrees, but feels pleasant in the sun. Did get pretty cool last night, down to about 2 degrees, but we haven't had any sort of frost since that a week or so ago, when we had 3 or 4 frosts, going down to minus 1.5 on average. Some places were a little higher, some ultimate low was minus 1.7. As we can see, the cannas here are still looking okay, other than being wind battered, but there'll come a time, I'm sure, when they get a proper frost, I can cut them back, and I will be putting similar to the shelter over the arid bed here, which is just basically clear plastic sheeting on a frame. I'll be doing a similar thing here, not for the cannas obviously, they'll be cut down, and I'll probably dig them out actually, and or might leave them till spring to dig out. But yeah, the cans will be cut down, so we'll just be left with the smaller palms. These are fairly hardy palms, but I still like to protect them, being they don't really get sun this time of year due to the low angle of the sun. So I'll probably connect a bit of clear tarp to the fence and then screw it to the raised area of the frame here, just to protect the palms. So we've got the Butyagris aerospather, we've got Trachycarpus and we've got the Jabutia, cross between Butia and Jabea. And then we've got some little sables here, so we've got the Mexicana, we've got the Sable Lisa and Sable Louisiana, so all fairly tough palms. Maybe the Butyagris might be the least hardy out of them all, so yeah, we'll just have a cover over that just to stop the frosts hitting the leaves and to keep it a little bit drier as well. That'll be fine. The poor Sable Mexicana, which I brought, was it September? We've had several windstorms and that's looking a bit bad. That's obviously field grown, dug up and then left to regenerate in a pot, probably in a sheltered net house or something, so it didn't get any wind. So as soon as we've seen the wind, that's sort of battered the leaves a bit. Not too concerned. There's about 3 or 4 spears in the centre which haven't opened yet, so hopefully when they do open they'll be used to a bit more wind tolerant, I say. But yeah, that should be fine. The only thing I'll do with that on a extreme, maybe -4 or under, I'll probably just wrap the actual growing point, the crown, with fleece and then take it off straight away when it warms up. But yeah, so we're going to look at some of the smaller palms and what we're going to do to protect. So here's a little example. So I've got some flexi plastic here, or really thin acrylic clear. So I've literally just cut a bit of string to the width, or just under the width of the little plastic cloche, wrap the plastic round, put the string on so it's nice and round. Got a little sable in here, not quite sure which type it is, I've already forgotten, should be labelling these really, but anyway, so we can have the cloche over that, so that'll still allow for the air, any heat build up to escape, and also again protect from cold winds, rain and frost and that sort of thing. If it does get really windy, obviously there's a chance of this blowing off, so if it's really windy, the chances are it's not going to be frost situation, so you could just whip round and take that off. So we've got some more examples of what I've done there further down, so we'll have a look at that. Yeah, so more or less everything else is done. So I have put a couple of shelters over the last few palms I want to do. So one over the Jabaya in the centre, just to keep the rain off it again, because there's a little bit of a little bit concave there where it did in the past spear pool. I don't want water collecting in there and freezing, even though it's a hardy palm. Water in the crown and freeze, that could lead to spear pull and ultimately kill the palm. So we've got just a shelter. So I've had these for years actually. It's just a framework I've made up with a couple of sheets of the corrugated clear on top, so obviously at an angle, so it's a little bit wind aerodynamic, so the wind will just pass over it. It's all open at the sides, just staked in, and then we've got a couple of the old polytunnel framework which I've just cross braced it, so it gives it a bit of stability in heavy winds. I've done this for many years and never had one of these fall over. They're really good, even up to sort of 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds, not a problem. Probably higher. Very little wind resistance on them. Wind passes straight through. Again, similar situation here, just a lower version. Stakes hammered into the ground. I always go at least a foot into the ground with the stakes to make them nice and secure. It's actually screwed into the fence panels at the back, or the support for the fence panels. So that's nice and solid. That ain't going to go anywhere. Can't really get any movement on that. And that's just protecting the Livingstone chinensis underneath. So yeah. But again, so a lot of the smaller palms, and I'll show you the setup I'm using. We looked at it a minute ago, but this is one that hasn't gone on yet. So it's literally just clear, flexi, acrylic or plastic, whatever you will call it. I guess you could. I'm quite lucky. I've got a lot of these offcuts from work, so they chuck a lot of this out. So I keep any little scrappy bits. So it's not cost me anything other than the cloches, which I think I got from Amazon for it's £15 for 10. So we'll get 150 each. These little plastic cloches, and they are good because you can vent them or have them shut. I always have them open. Just to let air out, so obviously we can pop them on top. Real simple, yeah. So you just put your palm, or put the plastic sheath, let's say, around the palm. You can have it open, you know, until you get the frost, any chance of frost, and you can just put your cloche over. Really cold, I suppose you could shut the vents, but always open up during the day. I normally just leave them open. I mean, the chances of much rain or any frost getting through these little holes are minimum, but it's still, you'll get a good airflow. So on a day like this where we had a cooler night and then nice and sunny during the day, they are going to act a little bit like a greenhouse, so we do want that heat to be able to escape. So that's why a dome is good. I've seen a lot of people using like plastic storage tubs. They're good, but I wouldn't have them on all winter long because you get a lot of condensation build up. Because they tend to be sort of a square shape, and even if you leave the bottom open for airflow, at the top you'll get a lot of condensation drips, and that'll just drip down and freeze in your palm or plant and cause you problems. So as long as you maybe take them off regularly and just make sure there's no condensation build up, you should be okay. This is a different scenario, so I've got a little propagator lid here. Real simple, just some bamboo canes to support it. So this is a very small Triphanix campestris, very small, so very cold tolerant but not so much damp tolerant, so I'll be leaving that on all but the windy nights where that might blow away, so I'll probably just whip that off when we're due for some wind. But again, the beauty of this is you can shut the vent if you need to, but that gives it a good airflow. So we've got airflow underneath, and we've got a chance for any heat and humidity to come out the top. If you've got bigger cloches or domes, that's absolutely fine. So we've got a larger cloche here. I think these ones are probably about £3 or £4 each, because they're slightly bigger. I've had this for many years. They're slightly discoloured, but still transparent enough to let light through. And we've got a little what's this, a Nanorops Witchiana. Again, very cold tolerant but not very damp tolerant, and this has gone backwards since I've had it because I've unfortunately dug it up and moved it twice. Didn't like it. It's still alive, it's still got some green on it, but I want to give that a bit of protection from the damp, as it were. So the other option is to just to fleece over your palms on the cold nights. This is why I've got a little plastic mesh on here, so I can just literally chuck a fleece over that, no problem. Got another little sable here. So this is a sable Riverside. So again, just a flexi plastic there, tied up, cloche over the top. What I will say is you can obviously add to this. This is alright just for day to day. You're still going to get air exchange with the vents at the top. Obviously it's very sunny at the minute. We can see it's starting to fog up, so maybe only when it's due for a frost we will put the cloches on, and if it's due for a heavy frost I can have this set up and then obviously put a fleece bag over that as well, just to stop. Obviously the fronds are going to be touching the plastic, and you don't want that sort of freezing up and damaging the fronds, so an extra layer of frost cloth over the top of that will do the job nicely. So yeah, I've done that with a lot of these. We've got a little McCurtain here, so again exactly the same scenario, flexi plastic cloche on top, large cloche over the Super Silver. So I've just got this other sable Riverside here, which is for that one. Sable Birmingham Downer. What I will say also, to give it extra insulation and to make it more stable, I have been piling up the mulch around it. So what we've got is the flexi plastic, and then we've put the pile of mulch up against it a good 3 or 4 inches, just to stabilise the plastic so it doesn't blow away, and also insulate around the plant. So the plant itself is absolutely fine underneath there. I'll put that on properly in a minute. Yeah, so we've got another sable that side, same scenario. We have got a potentially dead palm here. If you've been watching long term, this is a Trachycarpus princeps, which looked absolutely fantastic. It was down the other end of the centre bed, started to outgrow everything else because everything else is quite slow growing, and even though the princeps is slow growing, that didn't fit in where I wanted it, so I moved it. Never really done well. It didn't seem to have a lot of roots, so I moved it last year. It went through winter, seemed okay, but then I noticed it spear pulled. That was actually quite late summer. I noticed the spear pull, and it's basically all the leaves are pulled out apart from one, so it's got one solid half alive leaf. So obviously I've hydrogen peroxide in that. If it's dead, it's dead. We'll see in the spring if there's no new growth. I mean, this one has speared pulled before in the past and it's recovered, but this time it's not looking good. But we're going to give it every chance. We're going to put a tiny little cloche over it, and I've mulched around it so we're not going to get any rain in the cavity. And we'll see if it does not pull through, if it didn't start growing in the spring stroke summer, sort of early summer, I'll weigh it up. If it doesn't look good, we'll pull that out and we'll replace it with another palm, not a problem. I've got other princeps anyway, so I'm not too concerned. Yeah, so that's the sort of last finishing touches. Just any sort of I mean, sables aren't even that tender. I mean, they'll take a frost, but the problem is they will take a little bit of damage as well. And if they're damaged, the leaves don't look good. They don't grow fast, so best to keep them looking good as far as I'm concerned anyway. So again, that's on a very small scale. You're thinking, well, what if I've got a bigger palm that I need to protect? Well, I've got a lot of bigger palms, and all I do is chuck fleece bags over them on the frosty nights and then open it up again when the chance of frost is gone. So I'll be doing that with Washingtonia and the boot ears, that sort of thing, and the Brahea armata. Obviously I don't do anything with the Phoenix canariensis, but as looked at in another previous video a week or so ago, you can scale it up. So we've got basically corrugated plastic here, and we've got 2 sheets wrapped around, linked into each other, supported, and we've got a cloche on top. I have tie wrapped the cloche on top so it can't blow away, and that's the similar scenario as the smaller ones, but just on a lot bigger scale. So that is the Cyagrus coronata underneath that, so that's going to be an interesting one. That's the first winter out. So we're just really sort of lost most of the leaves on the trees. That ace is still holding on, lovely golden colour, but really could do with the leaves coming off that to let some more light into the summer house. Right, so it's a week ago since the last week of cold frosts. Obviously all the tender stuff is died off, or most of it. Colocaceae, that sort of thing. We've still got new growth coming out on the colocaceae, but obviously that's not going to do anything in these sort of temperatures. Cannas, bananas, I've got a couple of really tender bananas in here which I'm just letting die. So we've got some acuminata, which I never bother, you know, they're just bed and plants. You buy them as cheap as anything, like £3 each. Not concerned about them. Obviously anything that is slightly protected with a microclimate underneath the palm fronds here, the pink china, a lot of it has gone, some is still green, but again, we're not concerned this time of year. It's all going over. So the tender, what might be classed as quite tender, we've got palm grass here, so Soteria palmifolia. So we've got lots of seed here, and I have tried to grow it from seed many times, never succeeded. But the plant itself, yeah, minus, what was it, 1.5 around this area. Very little damage from the frosts on that. I do find that, yeah, the taller foliage on this palm grass does tend to die down, but the sort of smaller or fresher growth underneath tends to survive winter, just because it has got some natural protection from the Washingtonia, and that does seem a lot hardier than people give it credit for. It certainly I've had these survive from -7. We don't get -7 very often. We did get it a couple of years back, albeit I did fleece over the palm grass itself, and it did die down to the ground, but it did come back quickly in spring. But last year this stayed in full leaf, just like I say, lost the top foliage, but anything sort of a couple of feet from the ground stayed green. I mean, some of this is like 4 or 5 foot tall, and yeah, that obviously got hit by the frosts. So that's kind of what's going on. We're sort of finished with the winter protection in general, other than just moving a few. I've still got some pots out that I need to put away, some sort of half-hardy palms and the Cycad Revoluta, which is in a big pot. I could wrap the pot and just fleece over it on the cold nights, but I think I'll just move that undercover just to play it safe, to keep it easy for myself. Yeah, so we've done a good mulching few weeks back, so the ground's insulated to a point. I've still got loads of mulch left, so I'll be looking to use that up somewhere. I can add that to potting mixes for certain plants in the spring. That's not a problem. Make the old compost go a bit further. Right, so still some bits laying about I've got to tidy up. I did do a new raised bed, sort of at the entrance to the back garden, where I just had quite a few slabs, or they're old panels from the garage, sort of concrete panels. They're like 4 foot by 1.5 foot, and they were just sort of laid along here, and I had potted plants over the top, so I've just made a raised bed here instead. So we've got a solid framework to support the these concrete sectional panels to make a raised bed. I've already planted the Trachycarpus in here. This is Fortuna. This is I think this is the one I got from B&M earlier in the year for $37.50. Quite a decent, 1.5 foot a trunk. Absolutely solid. They don't need to, you can plant Trachycarpus or any hardy sort of evergreens really any time of year, as long as it's not frosty, as long as the ground's not frozen. That's not a problem. So that's already been planted, but everything else will be planted in the spring, so it goes around here and follows to the big tree fern planters there. I have got a couple of sort of hardy plants which I've just tucked in. So this is not actually a sort of semi-filled with soil, but mainly mulch. So I've layered up soil, mulch, compost, mulch, just layered it up. And so throughout the winter, the mulch should rot down a little bit. The worms will do their thing with the soil that's already in there and mix it all in. So that is going to sink down, and then I can top it up in the spring when I want to plant with whatever soil mix I choose. So I've got a few ideas what I want to plant in here. I had to be a little bit careful because I've got a tap at this point, but that's mainly just for the irrigation, for the tree ferns around the corner, and I've got a lot of pipe work for the irrigation to go in here as well. So that's all set up ready to go. Yeah, so I think that's about it really for today. So yeah, just sort of finishing touches really in the winter prep. So I hope you're all prepared and done. You should be by now. We've had the first frosts. We'll leave it there. The Spanish reed, I will cut that back in spring. I'll leave that for winter because 9 times out of 10 that'll stay green, and it will grow back anyway from the canes, but that looks a bit messy, so I'm going to have a refresh on that. I'm going to cut all that back come spring, and we'll just have the nice new canes rather than the old sort of not so pretty canes. Right, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.